Hello and welcome to the fourth part of my little series of talks on my book Tarot: The Quest for Egypt. Last time we talked about how tarot could be linked through the ideas behind the Kabbalah to the Gnostic Christians and to Alexandria. And I was thinking about how Alexandria could be linked to Egypt, because obviously Alexandria is in Egypt, but there was nothing in what I'd found out so far that linked the ideas, the spiritual ideas, with the ancient Egyptians themselves. Then, as I said, I came across the work of Iamblichus, who was a Greek philosopher, well, Syrian philosopher really, who wrote about the year 240 or 225 AD. He wrote a book called Theurgia, which you can access online. It's quite a complicated book the way it's written, and it took me a bit of a while to get my head around it. But he wrote his book with the intention of rationalizing the spiritual beliefs that were existing at the time that he wrote, because 225 AD, the pagan religions were struggling, the Christian religion was just starting, everybody was getting very confused. So Iamblichus decided to write this book to clarify his spiritual beliefs and communicate them to other people in order to help them to understand spirituality better. So I found this book fascinating. First thing I did was I read it, and I found some of the concepts quite difficult to understand. So I read it again, and then I realized I needed to make notes on it. So I made notes on it and converted the whole book really into English that I could understand. And then I realized that it answered all my spiritual questions, like where are we, what are we doing, where do we come from, what are we doing here? And also he writes quite a lot about divination. So as a person who's been reading tarot cards since about 1973, I found that really interesting. Obviously they didn't have tarot cards then, but they did do a lot of divination. That was very popular in those days. But I was really looking for, relating to the book, a link to the idea of connecting with different energies in various stages in order to achieve enlightenment. And of course I found it in the doctrine of Theurgy, which Ronald Hutton has written about. Theurgy, I think, well, Theurgy. It's what Iamblichus was doing, as well as writing this book about spiritual beliefs, he was also trying to promote his teaching methods and his beliefs. And he talks about the rites and rituals that you need to do in order to achieve perfect happiness. He called it true success, by connecting with various spiritual beings in various stages. He doesn't say at all exactly how to do this, because obviously he wanted to keep that a secret, because that was something he only revealed in his lessons, presumably. But it was the same theme that I'd seen all the way through. So I thought that was fascinating. So the next thing I did in my research was to try to find out where Iamblichus got his ideas from. So I did do a little bit of a diversion into looking at Manetho Solon and the Scrolls of Aziz, which was said to be the story of how a refugee from Atlantis arrived in Egypt and started babbling this really weird language, and he left these scrolls, which were called the Scrolls of Aziz, which were said to have been translated by Leonardo da Vinci, amongst other people. But that came to a bit of a dead end, because I didn't really know what was in these scrolls, and they didn't say anything about this mystical system that I'd come across. So my next stage in my research was to find out exactly a bit more about theurgy and where that came from. And that's where I got into looking at sacred geometry, which I was trying to avoid because I'm not brilliant at maths, but I did end up, it actually became central to my research. So this is where we come to the next stage, which is looking at the pyramids, which are obviously a sacred shape, being triangle. So if you want to like and follow, that'd be great. Or get my book in the comments, or in my bio is the link for that. Thank you very much.